I once was lost, but now I'm found, was blind, but now I see. Those are the words of one of the most important and famous hymns in the world. And it's also the story of a man we've been exploring this past week in our church. Good morning, I'm Pat McCain. I'm here early in our beautiful sanctuary here on our campus. And I want to talk this morning about a man born blind. In John chapter 9, we read about this man who had never had eyesight ever before in his life. And so he had to rely on all of his senses, his hearing, his taste, his smell, his touch to navigate his world. He lived his life unseen, and pretty much unnoticed until our scripture said Jesus saw him. And when Jesus and they encountered the blind man, he spit on the ground, made some mud with dirt, and put it on the blind man's eyes, and then told him to go wash in the pool of Siloam. The man had no idea who Jesus was, but he did as he was asked, and he went and washed, and he was able to see for the first time in his life. And I've wondered what that must have been like for him as he opened his eyes, and for the first time in his life, he squinted because of the glare of the sun upon his face. For the first time in his life, he saw the beautiful blue sky and the clouds traversing the sky. For the first time in his life, he saw birds in their winged flight. The birds that he had only heard sing, he watched them fly for the first time. He watched the trees swaying in the wind. He saw the beautiful fields of wheat. It must have been quite an experience. And imagine what it was like for him to see people for the first time when voices became faces for him. And it was actually not what he or any of us would have expected. We would have expected tears of joy and smiles and happiness on their faces. Instead, he discovered frowns upon their faces and looks of disbelief and doubt and even disgust. Who was he and who was the one who had healed him? They even interrogated his parents who did not defend him. And after interrogation after interrogation, this once blind man realized that the ones who were truly blind were the ones who didn't recognize God's heart, God's work, God's kingdom, and God's Son standing right in front of them. I love this story because it reminds us how we all are blind to things at times, how we all need perspective. Last week, we had our little granddaughter, Elliot. She's 7 years old, quite an artist. She was sitting at the kitchen table working on a canvas painting, and Monica asked her, "What's your favorite color, Elliot?" And she said red, of course, and it was pretty obvious she was using a lot of it. And then I asked her, "What do you think God's favorite color is?" And without hesitation, she said yellow. And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because he uses it more than any other color. Look at the sun, how big it is. It's bigger than anything." And oh my goodness, the perspective of a 7-year-old child and how she was able to see things that just frankly passed me by. This morning, as we lean into our Wednesday and lean into our day, my prayer for my soul and also for you is that you and I would have eyes to see the heart, the work, the presence of God in our lives. I pray as we step outside and see the beautiful Texas sky or whatever sky you're living under right now, that your heart would leap with joy for your Creator at work in the world. Maybe when we look at the birds or the trees or nature, we can enjoy and celebrate the presence of God. Maybe we will see God at work in the words and in the voice of an encouraging person in our life, or in the face of a child playing and enjoying life. And there are many, many ways that God is present and God's at work in our lives, even in the most difficult and troubling of circumstances. That's his promise to us. So my prayer is that I'll recognize it and that we would behold God at work in us. And perhaps, just perhaps, that hymn that we all know so well would become our story. I once was lost, but now found. I was blind, but now indeed I see. I hope that encourages your soul. Thank you so much for joining with me this morning. Leave a comment. Let me know you were here. Share this with somebody who needs a word of encouragement. God bless you, and may we all have eyes to see the heart, the presence, the goodness of God always at work in our lives.